My name's Eldon Bruce. I was born in Nolly, Oklahoma in 1940. I've lived here basically all my life. I live in a house that I was raised up in. There's a church at that time was named Church of Christ, Nashoba, Oklahoma. It has since been changed to Christ Church. At an earlier age, there was a cotton gin located in Nashoba. There was also a Catherine's General Store. One thing that really sets in my mind was the old pot-bellied stove that sat inside the store. Some of the old timers would come in and sit around a fire and talk. Also, there was a lot of talk out on the front porch. Like one time, as a guy said he caught a 13-pound sunperch. You take that as it is. Now we have a fire station right where the first old Nashoba school was, right where the fire station is and the post office now. There was a school sitting there, and it was all 8 grades. And later on, we got a high school. And the story goes that Forney Bailey and Buster Keith laid the first 2 blocks that was laid on what is now Nashoba School building. Then, as we built the school, and then we built the community built the gymnasium, and they also built a lunchroom. Later on, we built a rodeo arena there. We had a lot of friends and families, and everybody gather up and have fun at the rodeo arena. Up the road, there was a place called Oliver's Store. It was first run by Smokey Rogers. It was another little small general store. There was also a grist mill. Oliver Scarberry had a grist mill. He ground corn for people. A lot of people would ride their horses and in their wagons and bring corn to be ground into meal and flour. Back in those days, there was we didn't have very many cars in the community. The roads out here was all dirt and gravel. Also, as a youngster, my dad had a sorghum mill. He made sorghum for a lot of different people around, for families and what have you. He also sold sorghum in gallon cans. And back in the day, a gallon of sorghum, I believe, as best I remember, would bring $1 to $1.50. The neighbors would come in their wagons loaded with cane, sugar cane, and bring it over, and we'd run it through the mill. And if you never saw a sorghum mill, it's really something to see. That was a way of having, you didn't have syrup, you had sorghum back in those days. And that sweet cane sure was good too. The mill itself was pulled by a horse. A horse had to go round and round and round to run this little mill that squeezed the juice out of the cane. The cane actually turned into a liquid, and it went into this big pan. It had a bunch of different compartments in it. And my dad and another helper or two would have to stir that and guide it through this pan to make sure that it stayed in the right temperature as it went through the pan. You had to have a big fire built underneath it to heat the syrup up to make it work better. And anyway, it would come out a finished product, run out, and they would put it in these gallon cans and cap it. 1992, me and my family started a racetrack here in Nashoba, Oklahoma. We raced circle track cars, we've raced 4-wheelers, we've raced lawnmowers, We at noon, at halftime, we'd always have a kids' bicycle race and a kids' foot race. That way that would entertain the kids and get them to come back. We had Easter egg hunts at Easter time, firecrackers at firecracker time. We tried to really involve the community in something local. This is a small community of about 500 people, roughly. Everybody knows everybody. If you need some help, you don't have to go hire somebody, just holler. Somebody will come running. If you get down, if you get sick, you need something, you call.
Doris Wright. I live in Nashoba, Oklahoma. I've lived here all my life, and I'm 83-year-old. Had 4 children, 1 son and 3 daughters. And we've lived here on the old home place for 50 years. Built the house I live in 50 years ago, and enjoyed all of it. I go to church at Nola Assembly of God. Gone there since 52. We have a swimming hole just below Nola Assembly of God Church, and that's what was our swimming hole. All of our kids around here would gather up and go down there. In fact, we didn't know any other place to go swimming. I've lived in this Nola community, known everyone, been friends with people around here for all my life. We've had good friends, had a few bad ones, but not that bad. But it's just been a wonderful place to live, and people would, if you was needing help, they'd just come over and help you hoe your corn and peanuts or whatever you was growing.
My name is Thomas Wilson. I've lived in Nashoba most of my life, with the exception of the time I was in the Army. It's an unusual community, or seemed unusual to me growing up here. People were real friendly, but a little bit clannish. Things were tough when I was growing up. Everything looks a lot different now. The old store at Nashoba, the history I've heard was a commissary building for the Choctaw Lumber and Coal Company, which it wasn't when Cothran's owned it, when I could first remember. There was an ice house there, a well out in front of the old store building, and early history I heard they had a barbershop in town and a grist mill. That was history, but that was before my time. Mom said they used to. It was a big deal. They'd pick cotton just like the Dickens to get to ride to Clayton on the bale of cotton, and they'd make it all the way over to where Clayton Lake is the first day, and they'd camp there. Happy Hollow is what they call that. Then they'd go into the gin the next day at Clayton, and then they'd spend the night in the wagon yard, and they could make it back home in one day. Had a lot of get-togethers back then. There was very little entertainment around. Saturday night there would usually be somebody gathering at somebody's house playing music. Always seemed to be a revival going somewhere. Sometimes they didn't have a good place and they'd have a brush arbor or use one of the local schoolhouses. There was a school at Nashoba that I went the first year at the Nola Community, and then transferred over to Nashoba when they closed the Nola school down. So I went the rest of finished high school there. You could tell a lot of difference in the times. Then most people only had one vehicle. And if somebody was going to Antlers for any reason at all, wouldn't unusual to see 2 or 3 adults sitting in the back of that pickup going to town.